play those together. A very, very LCK way to draft right now in the meta. And it's going to be them who actually pick up at least the Ahri for the first part of this.
Yep, the Ahri seems very obvious. I think, you know, you could definitely match jungler here, pick up the Viego. Ahri Viego definitely extremely strong. Steel, I don't believe he has played that much Viego. He's definitely a guy that strikes me as kind of like a Nocturne player and stuff like that. A lot of Poppy
really, you're right.
as well, so maybe not really in his wheelhouse. They're going to actually prioritize the Karma that does come out here ahead of that.
Karma picked early in this draft does give you a lot of control on the bottom side, and you know, it's not really punishable at the moment in this draft for T1 either, and they can play something like the Ezreal with this if that's the style of play they're looking for here for more late game. Ahri can be a very strong side lane champion, and obviously there's a lot of ways that you can play around this Karma. We don't know what it's going to be just yet, but okay, they didn't take the Ahri, but they took Faker's LeBlanc, one of his most iconic champions. And whatever you say is one of Faker's most iconic champions, there's about like 9 of them. You think about LeBlanc, you think about the Azir, but it's the two champions he dominated on most this season. He was my vote for MVP. Actually, I voted for him over Keria this season. Was LeBlanc and the Ahri, and he had the opportunity to pick. He chooses LeBlanc. Jayce comes in here blind, very common in the LCK to see this, because we don't see champions like Malphite very often. Wukong already in your composition. It's a pretty safe blind Jayce here.
And guess what? Zeus is one of the best Jayce players that I have ever seen. Certainly at the LCK, he dominates on this pick. He can blind pick it. They first picked it for him as well, you know, because commonly the Ahri will be banned, the LeBlanc could be banned against Faker. So they're like, yeah, sure, Zeus, carry us on the Jayce. So they're going to go ahead and go with that, even though we haven't seen all that much Jayce here at this tournament just yet. A bit here and there. Because the Ezreal Karma is the bottom lane for DFM.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking we were going to see from them once the Karma was locked in. There's nothing T1 could do about that, right, at this stage of the drafting when you have the Karma locked in this early. One of the common responses you see is the Yuumi. That's taken off the board here. And it looks like DFM do want to play a late game scaling 80 carry game here. Not going to be trying to play to that early game strength that got them so much success in the LJL. Not going to try to go fight fire with fire against the bigger fire here of T1. So I really like this approach. We'll see the Xin Zhao removed. And I am really, really curious to see what angle we're going to see with Gumayusi Jhin here in the bottom side of the map now that the Ezreal's here, because we talked about how much T1 has pulled out weird picks and how much they've had fun with this tournament and this group stage. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw an old throwback of like the Varus coming through here for T1 with this comp. It changes the way it's going to be played, but you could snowball super well. You can lane into this Ezreal very, very well with that. Play lethality. You've got the lethality Jayce. This very squishy composition DFM is running right now is going to be tough.
You see that target ban of the Poppy that does go up against Steel. They're not going to let him play that one here. Also, I love the Aphelios ban against Gumayusi. I think that the Yuumi, you know, Keria, again, as I was talking about before, this guy has such a gigantic champion ocean that maybe, you know, you don't necessarily have to ban that away, but I do like covering their bases with the Aphelios ban here, as the Sett is potentially going to be the choice here. And it looks like it will be locked in.
So really interesting to see the Sett coming through here. Does give you a lot of durability, and what Sett will offer you in these upcoming team fights, actually a little bit of disengage potentially against the Wukong. You also become a very strong shield, a blocker for a lot of that lethality damage coming through on Jayce. So can be very nice to have that as a great frontliner for the Ezreal. I think Poppy would have been the ideal choice given how this draft has gone so far and Evi's proficiency of the champion, but they decided to switch it back to the Sett here once that was banned away. A lot of decisions here that Gumayusi could have made. We saw the hover there earlier. Will go back to the Jhin. I think the main reason is because you've got insane poke power with a great front line. Carry on,
He's laughing. I knew something was going to be coming out here.
Was now, if you go for the Pyke Jhin lane, you can get 2 Umbral Glaives. And when you have full vision control with Jayce, LeBlanc, no. two vision controllers, you have the Umbral Glaives, you sweep it out, and LeBlanc is going to be finding and murdering people through those those holes, those patches of vision that DFM might, if they fall behind, be unable to correct if there's 2 Umbral Glaives here.
Yeah, T1, they definitely have a lot of ways to get in your face and make this dirty and bloody. Let's see what DFM have in store to counter this. Now, we were talking about the Ahri Viego earlier on, obviously a very common duo that we see for mid-jungle. So many plays that you can make with this, and so many ways to enable each other. And that is going to be the choice here for Steel. So he forgoes anything he's super comfortable on, and he will play the Viego that, of course, this guy knows how to play.
There's a lot of power with a Viego Sett, Viego Ahri, because of the CC these solo laners bring to the table. So I think all eyes are going to have to be on Steel and these solo laners in the early game, because there are ways in which you can really start to skew how easy it is going to be for Ezreal to scale towards the later parts of the game. If you can actually get through the first parts of it, Ezreal starts out, come online, gets 2 items, you're not too far behind. Yes, you're going to be dealing with vision problems, you're going to be dealing with the lethality Jayce that could basically one-shot everybody later on in the game, but I like the way that they rounded this draft out. They weren't ready to commit to the Viego early, but then they were able to pivot to Sett. They have a jungler that can link the mid and top lanes together. This should be a great game of League of Legends. I'm feeling Valdes.
Yeah, and the fans, we know who they're cheering for here in Busan. It will be for T1, as these guys looked geared up and ready to go. But as you're mentioning, DFM, they got to come in here and be the most prepared that they will have to be in this group. And I'm very curious to see if they can pilot this composition very, very well. Also kind of cool, we get to see Faker up against Yaharong once again. This is a matchup we have seen many times over in Korea, and they will meet once again here on the International MSI stage.
And even perhaps a matchup people don't think of that much is Faker versus Yutapon, because these are some of the oldest and longest standing League of Legends players in the world in terms of professional play, facing off against each other. It's been a little while since we've seen them clash in a group stage like this, but they will meet here for the first time in this round robin. So a lot of historical context here. Yaharong, of course, formerly of the generic Green Wings. It used to go by Grace, if you guys remember back in the day. Played a little bit on Fredit Brion, so kind of a substitute to Lava, and now finds his place on DFM as a replacement for Arya, who then also moved to the LCK. So a lot of LCK history, a lot of rivalry type stuff here between these two teams. You know, Korea versus Japan, T1 versus DFM, Yaharong versus Faker. It's a really cool matchup, even though T1 are massive favorites. The context makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see this day of MSI wrapped up with our featured matchup here, presented by, of course, Mercedes-Benz. Thank you. And yeah, I mean, this is Keria back on his Pyke, right? This is one of the first picks, actually, that got people very excited about Keria. He came out on this pick when he was a rookie, and he was like, yeah, I'm just going to take over the bottom lane by myself, like almost 1v3 style. Like, and everybody was like, wait, what? Who is this guy? Like, how did he just do that? And yeah, he garnered a lot of hype very early on in his career, and this was one of the picks that he was able to do it on.
He hovers it a lot. People love it. They respect it. Oner's seen here.
Oh, they're flashing in. Yutapon, he is going to have to flash out as Oner's going in for the kill. That is just barely going to be enough for first blood, as already Gumayusi is on the board.
Yep. Faker going to look for another proc here of Electrocute in the lane as we jump over that. Observer's like, better make sure we don't miss that one. But a very early kill here given over to Gumayusi on the gen. This accelerates how quickly he can get those lethality items online. Keria is will give no quarter. He's like, I'm not going to give you any opportunities to try to get any of these minions here as the wave crashes through. But Keria is able to hit this hook at basically maximum range. Notice Oner comes down here, even though he's seen on the ward. There's no minions to block here. The timing of this hook is perfect because Keria knows they have cryo on the lane, and there's an easy follow-up gank opportunity for Oner. If it goes awry or if DFM show more respect.
Yaharong's just dead! Faker gonna take him out. Looks like the Ignite was ticking there as Keria, with a casual level 2 roam to the mid lane, is going to help out with that. But this time, DFM, they're going to get their revenge as they set up a nice little gank. Brush, Steel, and Harp in at the river. They are able to take out Gumayusi, who is running down the river by himself.
So this does really stave off some of the early lead that first blood for Guma is going to give you. So a lot of damage going through a Faker. He's sitting at like basically no health, basically no mana. He's going to get the maximum value of the trade, proc Electrocute again. And he's like, oh yeah, Yaharong, you thought you were going to sit and catch this wave at a good amount of health and feel good about yourself while I back? No, I'm going to actually take that away from you. We'll have to chug through those pots.
Yes.
The good news for DFM fans is that the kill onto Gumayusi means that it does give Ezreal a little bit more of a free time here.
Faker sets it up.
Hashtag just Faker things. Keria's here. Yep. Chains land. Can't miss your Pyke hook when they're rooted in the ground. Then, you know, Guma gets caught here, unfortunately. You could tell based on how he was moving, he was like, oh, there's a pretty good chance they're here. They're not on the bottom side of the map. And that does give Ezreal a little bit of breathing room here for Yutapon.
He could have taken it a little bit slower and just run through his own jungle. But Guma, he's a very confident young player. And generally, he doesn't make too many mistakes. But if he does make them, they'll look like that. You know, he's like, no, I can just do whatever I want. And yeah, gets punished for it. So really nice response out of the side of DFM. You got to get something going when already Oner making it happen. And a counter gank could come in here as Keria's going to get stunned up. Do they have the damage? Yes, they do. Steel able to pick that one up as now DFM will strike back in a big way. They're looking for the hook potentially from Steel. He's just going to get over the wall. Of course, cosplaying the Pyke here as they will get away.
This is a really nice read.
Harp is sticking around a little bit too much, and one more auto will do it. That's just going to be the grenade that comes in, but immediately Guma's going to go down as well. So, with the root coming in, that's the Viego stealing Jin's body. They're looking for more, and Yutapon is going to pick up yet another kill. DFM, they laugh in the face of T1's aggression.
DFM now have matched T1 in gold, and this is a play based on the fact that they know Keria is going to repeatedly non-stop look for Bone Spears, and during the slow of Keria's hook, Steel actually he is able to predict Keria is going to hook at this moment. During the slow, he's already pre-channeled the Viego stun. He's able to get on top of him there. Was super well played. Then they abuse the fact that Viego in these skirmishes will get those resets, get his health back, and then can actually become a ranged champion, do tons of extra damage. This was extremely well set up by DFM, punishing the fact that T1 are going to repeatedly try to make these plays happen. If the execution was poor, Viego loses so much time. But notice the channel. He channels this before Keria actually looks for the Bone Spear. He's slowed while channeling, so he knows he can guarantee the stun, has the follow-up damage here. Beautifully played from DFM.
Yeah, just a really fantastic setup. And if you know the enemy team is looking confident, they're going to be looking for plays non-stop, you got to find a way to counter it, and they found exactly that. Guma doesn't have to run in there. You know, he knows Steel is still around. And DFM are like, thank you very much. This will be a couple more kills into our pockets. Excellently set up by Steel on the side of DFM. As we will return to the game state. T1 still have a slight lead. Some of that is due to Zeus having fun on just Jayce versus a melee champ. Evi having a little bit of trouble, but now they're looking for their own kind of revenge as very nicely kidnapped into the back there. Steel once again looking for more, but the flash knockback from Zeus might be enough. They're still flashing onto him. As will it be enough damage? One more haymaker could have done it, but it's not enough. Zeus will live underneath his own turret.
Not the true damage there to finish him off. Unfortunately, well played by Zeus. Really nice reaction. But this goes back to the draft. When they locked in the Viego at the end, they decided to lock in Sett, play around the CC setup here. And it has been Steel who's been the glue of this team together, making the early plays, and all eyes were going to be on him. He's going to be the most impactful player in this game for DFM if they can actually control the early parts of it, and that has been the case. Not a successful kill, but a successful game.
Flashing in, he's going for blood. Harp is going to try to flash away with that W, but it's enough damage back on a Gumayusi. Yutapon hits level 6 and does punish him. Here is Oner, and another Bone Spear should be enough. The knockup comes in, and Oner will dominate there.
On the knife's edge there, though, if he actually survives here, Yutapon, with the enemy AD carry down, ends up getting a really nice lead. Of course, it's a trade here, so won't actually push them further, as you could hear the audience is cheering like crazy after they were able to pick him off here. Steel rotates over, trying to catch some of this aggression. First Drake, by the way, still untouched with all this aggression. Rift Herald has spawned. T1 historically has been the most dominant Rift Herald team.
And this is what we missed while we were having the action down on the bottom side, by the way. Started out as a 1v1. Faker was getting aggressive here on the Yaharong, who does just barely go down. But then Faker is scooped up by Steel, who earns himself another kill.
Yep, so another extra kill here for the Viegos, 3-0-2. The most impactful player on the Rift right now. Rift Herald spawned. Oner's taking it here early. The Ezreal hasn't come online just yet, so they're going to respect the fact that they didn't have prio control here.
Uh-oh, Keria in trouble, setting up the gank brush again. The damage should be there. Steel is so fed as he doesn't have his ultimate. No Heartbreaker will be able to come through here, and that is why Keria will survive.
Yeah.
As at least he does survive.
He does survive because the Heartbreaker was used earlier, Flash was used earlier, but it does mean that they have to take the longer road here, which is going to cost Gumayusi a lot of CS. Going to give a plate over to Yutapon. These moves are impactful even if it doesn't lead to a kill, because it also means control bottom side as wave crashes through, gives Steel first Drake priority here, and Mountain Drake will go over to DFM. Really nice play around vision, abusing the fact that Keria is on a roaming support who wants to be going to that mid lane very often, catches him on his return.
Yeah, and I think that DFM have done a wonderful job of shoring up a lot of the early aggression from the side of T1. This top lane does continue to be a bit of a sticking point here. I think that Zeus is pretty much having a free lane, of course, outside of that one play where they were trying to set up the kill onto him. But other than that, he has a almost 40 CS difference. Once Evi picks up this wave, it will shore up a little bit. And he already has 2 plates as well. So that is a lot of where that gold lead is actually coming from for T1.
Yeah, and Yaharong is going to, again, just be harassed here by Faker. A lot of this is, the forcing we're seeing from Zeus, the pressure we're putting on is because he knows the jungler's on the other side of the map. So he's playing so well around this strong side because he knows how much pressure DFM is trying to put onto Keria and Gumayusi. So really well played by him. So we do have a group up here in the jungle from T1.
We were talking a lot about Steel. By the way, he did pick up the MasterCard Mythic item of the Divine Sunderer at 9 minutes and 52 seconds. So this guy is insanely fed right now as Evi trying to go 1v1 once again, but Zeus does not have turret aggro. Will miss the accelerated shock blast, but he is fine. He will survive against that aggression.
Yeah, just using his ult to actually get it back here, so he's not going to end up losing out way too much. Yaharong will get rooted.
Steel is here, though. Can he bait him in? The Ignite is ticking as Steel with the flash stun. That's still going to be a kill, though, for Faker as he picks it up. Distorts away from the Heartbreaker, and Faker dodges a charm, picks up the kill, and that will be that.
Yeah, in terms of mechanics here across the board, I don't think anyone is going to doubt that Faker versus Yaharong heavily favoring Faker. We're seeing it here. Yes, he was punished the one time, but he's sitting at 3-0 and or 3-1 and 0, excuse me. He's up 10 CS, and he's playing LeBlanc, which is going to be so impactful if T1 can get a lead and control that vision. Because we are going to see Pyke pick up the glaive later on in this game. He is going to make it so difficult for DFM to know where Faker is at any given point in time. So Faker being accelerated at this stage of the game is something that DFM fans should be extremely worried about, because getting to that point way faster than LeBlanc is supposed to be in an even laning phase is it's just a disaster. It's going to lead to so many problems for DFM's fairly squishy composition.
So we got Steel up in the top side. He was actually able to deny that back from Zeus. Keria, though, is being so annoying in the mid lane here. Even with Harp here, Oner and Faker just casually, with this pressure, picking up 2 more turret plates, and they drop the Rift Herald down. Faker has the distortion. He will be able to get away as they split the golds here, and Faker's still throwing out chains in front of 3 of them in this mid lane.
Yeah, and look who's farming bottom. It's Gumayusi. He's doing that for free. So T1, this is the macro style we talk about for them. We talk about the early game. We're not talking about how they kill people, but how they kill turrets.
Oh, he got him over the wall.
Unbelievable.
Harp is just dead, and that is going to be Oner that does pick up the kill. Second knockup comes through here for the Wukong as Oner is picking up more. They might want to get this into Guma, but they say, nah, let's give the double kill over to Oner. He wants the MVP notice anyway.
Steel had such a great early game. They were really finding impactful ganks. They were able to catch up in T1's gold. The second Rift Herald's taken, though, they force it mid, grab plates. You see Gumayusi pushes bottom side. They have control of the forces. Faker is going to get charmed. But the vision that you could see, if you look at the bottom right of the map here, is just insane here for T1. Look at all of these wards they have. Look at how deep this vision is. You cannot make any plays there. You cannot safely protect Yutapon. So notice Yutapon comes back to the lane. He's like, oh, I'm in trouble. I have to back away. He's losing CS. He's losing farm. He's 30 CS down right now. This is T1's macro. This is their domination. This is why people are so afraid of facing this team in the early game. You get an inch, T1 takes a mile with it. And so many plates going over to these impactful carries.
Yeah, it's very true. And, you know, some of the CS differences as well, very noticeable. Still a huge one in the top side, but also Gumayusi with a very nice lead in the bottom lane. Will we see another Bone Spear hit? They're going for Harp. He's just so squishy, but Yutapon is fighting back. The heal comes through. The stun is going to be flashed away, but Harp will be taken out by Keria. And now Yutapon is all alone, but they're not going to, or will they? Bone Spear considered, and Keria just goes down. Yutapon laughs at him and just takes a kill for himself.
He has Prowler's Claw. He's thinking he could actually burst him down there. It has enough damage, but unfortunately it's an Ezreal. Yutapon doesn't miss his skill shots there at basically point-blank range. He's able to take him out. In fact, if Gumayusi's back there was somewhat disrespectful, he gets caught there. He dies too. Yutapon is going to pick up some much-needed extra gold.
Yutapon, I'm not sure about this one. You have red buff on you, and Oner this time will get the last laugh as he flashes onto you and kills you.
They have no real vision of this part of the jungle. There's a ward near the Drake pit, so I think that's why he felt comfortable. He could actually push that wave out before backing.
They saw him coming. He like threw out a Q, and then he was like, nah, you know what? It's okay. I'll be fine.
It was not okay.
But Faker still feels like he's having a lot of fun here in this mid lane. As trying to get this one down, the smite will come through from Oner, even though he does get rooted, he is totally fine. And the Cloud Soul, perfect. Shout out to our co-caster, Atlas. Cloud Atlas, no doubt watching from home, loving the Cloud Souls that we've had so far.
I mean, when you look at the top side, it's been so interesting because this tournament, hold that thought, Gumayusi very far forward.
He's in a lot of trouble, and with this teleport coming in, well, he will be able to flash away from it as Evi is looking for a bit more. He will ult the clone. Fooled this time, I suppose, as the Bone Spear is going to come through. And now we open up for Guma. That's one snipe. Looking for the second. He should be able to hit. No, he hits Yutapon, actually, so not going to be quite enough damage, and the rest of them will get away.
This is an extreme poor macro call as well from DFM to try to force this fight here. Take your loss. You didn't get Guma. That's enough. They commit the teleport here for Evi. You know, after the first initial pick fails, he ults the clone, as you mentioned, but he gives a turret to Zeus. He's not coming. He's not interested. He's going to get more gold. He's going to soak up the map. The bigger objective is on the top side right now.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And I just feel like there has been way too much disrespect of Yutapon's Ezreal in this game from T1. Like, the guy does not miss.
Yeah,
you're also running straight at him. Like, come on. He can do it. He's going to hit you. Baker nearly gets charmed there. But at the end of the day, does look like DFM will be able to run away.
Look at the items here for Evi. You know, unfortunately, this is the matchup that the analyst test was really focusing on. And because there's been so much action on the bottom side, we haven't really been able to focus on it. The observers haven't really been showing it that much. But we're now looking at nearly a 60 CS lead. Eclipse is done. Muramana is completed. Whereas we're looking at like a Hearthbound Axe, okay, and an Iron Spike Whip here for Evi because he's so extremely far behind. He cannot duel. He cannot find anything. He doesn't have damage. He's not very survivable. Now he's finally got the Stride Breaker. Had that earlier. Might have been a little bit more impactful in that last skirmish. But he's so extremely far behind. Doesn't have a turret to operate around now. And every time there's a lull in the action, I behoove you fans, look at the map and where the vision is. For the first time, DFM a little bit of vision bottom side, but the Drake's not up for 3 minutes. It's not relevant vision. And this is why I said DFM is not so great at controlling vision around objectives. The steal will get rooted.
Oh boy. Faker is getting pretty low, but he knows that they do not have enough damage to take him down. Keria is able to get on in there, but this last second shield comes through and Steel will just barely survive.
Oh no, we should back there!
And well, Gale Force is just going to take him out. He knew that, you know, he was just a little bit too slow. Not quite able to get away from that one.
How many times, Valdes, tonight? Oh no, Evi's in trouble. How many times are we watch somebody barely survive and then back in a bad place?
Yaharong able to root him up. Who's trapped in here with who, though? It is 3v1, so it is Oner absolutely trapped in. And he will be taken down in front of all three of them.
A bit of an overstep, shall we say. There's a lot of CC on this team for DFM, so we will get locked down there. This will give DFM a little bit of breathing room. Ezreal is still just sitting on the Trinity Force right now. It's going to be about 4 or 5 more minutes before he starts really doing quite a lot of damage. But he's going to have to operate around Zeus's massive damage. Because look at Zeus' items. We talked about it earlier. He's online early, and it's only going to get worse from here because he has full control over the map. Can side lane anywhere he wants to. No one can challenge him.
Faker in a bit of trouble here. The chains are going to land, and that is going to be enough. He's got Guma here with him, and Guma will secure that kill for himself.
look at all the wards on the bottom side of the map around where DFM would try to contest Drake coming up, and the wards on the top side of the map where Faker is harassing. And he just knows there are juicy targets he can blow up here. They don't even have an Umbral Glaive this game. They're just doing it with straight control wards and sweepers to actually push this through. And as DFM, you can't even walk into your jungle safely against a fed LeBlanc at this stage.
Okay, Evi trying to force this one. He is going to catch two of them. Breaks their stride, rather. And strides their break as well. Evi is a little bit deep now. He is going to get rooted up by the Jhin as Guma, he's even looking for other targets. Assumed that Evi was down, and he snipes him at the end. Very nicely done. Picks up that kill as Keria still looking for more. As T1, they're having a lot of fun in this game. Really just going for every single target that they can find.
Certainly are. Steel does not get this blue buff. That's taken from T1, just taking every single piece of the map they could find and pushing it to the edge, to the limits. 20 seconds to go before this Drake spawn. Zeus has full vision control. He's on it. He could start it up alone as the respawns come through. Too many low health bars on the side of DFM. No front line to actually come over here and contest, nor do they have any vision or any idea as to whether T1 actually faked a backstop, and then went over to Drake. Like, they just don't have any options. You don't have any opportunities here. And the positioning of Keria has been so threatening in each and every one of these team fights. Even though Evi engaged very well in that last fight, Keria's positioning on the side meant that Yutapon couldn't actually freely follow up and do that damage. Yaharong's not a sustained damage dealer in this game. He can help pick and follow-up charm when those engages come through from Evi, but your sustained damage is in Yutapon, but if he's blocked by the Pyke, he can't do it. He can't actually put that damage out. And it's just, it feels like this game is falling apart so quick. I mean, it's 20 minutes in, 8,000 gold to lead. It was a very close early to mid.
This is a really rough spot as well for DFM because you got two guys up on the top side trying to lock down Faker's LeBlanc that has flash. I mean, yeah, the Baron's up. Like, you're never going to kill him. You're not going to do anything. Meanwhile, the second Rift Herald is getting so much value down here. So much extra gold on the map that's just being given over to T1 basically for free. They were not in position to handle that push, and now T1 are looking at a 10,000 gold lead, and they're just kind of rolling over them here in the middle of the map as Harp. Will he get sniped on the backside here? He does have, ooh, he nearly did on the backside of that one, but Yutapon is going to be executed by Keria.
Notice that when Harp was there and caught, Keria didn't even bone spear him because he's like, I don't need to actually hook this guy. Like, he's going to die. It doesn't matter. And, he did barely escape there, of course, but he's like, I'm waiting, saving my cooldowns for the real target, which is Yutapon. Yutapon's taken out again. Positioning of Keria just preventing Yutapon from doing any significant damage. There's no vision on Baron.
They don't have any vision of even that brush, and Faker is going to secure that kill. T1 do this all the time. They're so far ahead, they can just take this one down. Now, Guma did not have to be there. That was absolutely not the best position, and Steel is nearby, so actually the smite will go over to the side of Oner. They say thank you very much for that finish on the Baron, and we will take it from here.
Faker? Ah! Okay, well that's some extra gold going over to Yutapon. I think your reaction was like the genuine reaction of literally everyone who's sitting in the Busan Arena right now and every fan at home. Everyone made the exact same sound as you did as Faker did get hit by that true shot barrage.
I hope I wasn't the only one.
I only didn't because you did it. Like, I actually did. You guys couldn't hear, but I did the exact same pitch as Brendan at the same time. So this is fairly risky for T1. These are the risky Baron calls that Jat was pointing out actually on the desk earlier in that segment. They have enough damage here because they're so far ahead and their carries have been fed so heavily. But Gumayusi is an AD carry, not a frontliners. Here we go.
Guys, Zeus is like he's not a freight train, he's like a giant cannon, okay? As Evi is, wow, yep, that's the cannon. He took a little while to reload, but then he just shot you in the face, so down he did go. And the cannon wins with the reload as Yutapon, at least, I suppose you could say he is picking some gold up off the map, but...
and if it were a closer game, it would be relevant. Yeah. But, sadly in a game like this, sad bees. In a game like this, I mean, he's trying his best, and he will just barely escape here from Faker's chains. But it's just too far gone at this stage, and a lot of it was just based around really good backroom plays from T1, Keria's positioning, and 21 kills to 10, not a number you really see at an international tournament again. These are things that we are not used to seeing, but we have so many dominant teams here. RNG, T1.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, they were already so far ahead, but now with this Red Bull Baron power play. They have about 3,000 gold more that they will fill their coffers with. So must be feeling really good about their positions now. As DFM looking to, they're just trying to carve out a small piece of land here on this rift. And maybe they'll do it while taking Faker with them, as he does not have flash. He's gonna hop back, but the charm comes in, and that's gonna be the end of him. As T1 say, you want a 4v5, let's do it, but the Bone Spear not going to land. Oner still looking for more. The root comes in from over the wall, and everybody's getting knocked up now on the backside of this fight. Guma is going to snipe them from very far away, as nobody can even seem to take down Oner. He's got a stopwatch, and that's all you need at this point. In comes Keria looking for the final ace for this team of T1. They will take them all down, as Guma will still have the last kill, and that should be the end of this game.
Teleport to finish, and they shut Yutapon down at every turn. They didn't necessarily respect him, I think, in some of those 2v2s in the early game, like you said. His damage output, his ability to hit those skill shots, they just walked right up to him. But they walked right up to him in the late game, forced him out, made it impossible for him to hit those Qs. Those mystic shots were not going to happen.
Don't do it to him. Just end the game. T1, they will secure yet another win under their belts as they dominate their way through to a 3-0 score in Group A. Looking like one of the scariest teams, if not the scariest, in the tournament.
Expectations were 100% T1 takes a 3-0 here in front of their home crowd in Busan. And this is just the Busan arena. We've got much bigger and better crowds, and so many people are going to be traveling to this event to watch T1 in the knockout stage if they make it there. The Rumble stage, of course, they're nearly qualified for already. But I think it means a lot to do it against Korean players on this Japanese roster. I think it means a lot for Faker to actually defeat Yutapon, who's in a lot of ways very similar to him. Long-standing player, not the same amount of success. But to defeat the Japanese team in front of a Korean crowd means something as well. And it's a really, really dominant victory here, despite some shakiness in the early part, some great play from Steel. And yes, was it a one-sided game? I think everybody would say so. But damn, if DFM did not put up a good fight, and I think the way they drafted, the way that Steel played this Viego with the Ahri, the set, was impressive to see, and I think DFM has grown so much as a team. They did put some dents in T1. It was not as dominant as the other games that we've seen tonight, so I just wanted to give them a little bit of credit for that. And they're still maybe one of the teams to get out in second place.
T1 is T1, as we know, and I think you really got to hand it to DFM. They put on a great performance, but T1 were able to take the dominant victory here tonight and secure 3-0. But guys, that's going to do it for us. We're stepping away, but make sure to